All right. So, oh, just moving. I'm here sitting with my friend Girmay, and would you please tell me where are we now?
All right. So we are in Axel University
Yes,
inside the Department of History and Heritage Management.
history and heritage management.
Yeah.
Okay, and we are here because today I attended your class on linguistic anthropology, and then I delivered a speech to some students on languages in Europe and conflicts and identity. Uh, would you mind to introduce yourself a little bit so the people knows a little bit more about you?
Okay. Thank you very much for giving me this chance. My name is Girmay
Mm-hmm.
and I'm from Axel University. So I'm a graduate of History and Anthropology, meaning I have two masters, one in social anthropology, concentrating in medical anthropology, and the other is in history of the Horn of Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So I have been teaching civics and ethical education for about 14 years in different institutions. Firstly in Maicho Technical College, and then in Magala Polytechnic College. The capital, Magala is the capital of Tigray.
Mm-hmm.
Then starting from 2016 in Gregorian calendar,
Yes.
I'm teaching history and anthropology by starting from 2018 to the present. I shifted to the Department of Anthropology,
Mm-hmm.
and currently I'm the head of the department. So I'm giving a course on anthropological theory, and currently on a course named or entitled as linguistic anthropology, as you observed it in the class in the morning.
And I testify that it was a very good class.
Thank you.
I had fun, and the subject was interesting, and yeah, it was great doing it this morning.
Thank you very much.
So you moved from you changed a little bit field from history to anthropology recently.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right. So what are your areas of expertise and interest? Basically, I understand that you are into social and cultural anthropology. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So you mentioned medical anthropology as well. Are there other fields that you are working on or that you are interested in?
So concerning research, I do different research in particularly in history and the contemporary history of Ethiopia,
Mm-hmm.
and particularly of the contemporary history of Tigray.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm dealing with ethnic conflicts, such as the cattle raiding or cattle rustling between highlanders and lowlanders, and also I'm studying about a certain ethnic group by the name Kunama. So they are socio-cultural history, social contemporary history. So I have also research topics in medical anthropology like illness, disease, and treatment among the aged. So concerning readings, I read a number of disciplines such as books in philosophy, in sociology, literature, and language, as well as history, political science, anthropology itself, in various aspects. As you know, anthropology is divided traditionally into 4 sub-disciplines. So I do readings in physical anthropology or biological anthropology, anthropology, so cultural or socio-cultural anthropology, archaeological anthropology, and also linguistic anthropology, and the other applied subspecializations of anthropology.
Okay. Would you tell us, summarizing a little bit? I know it's like a crime to ask you to summarize this, but about the diversity of the Ethiopian ethnicities, identities, nationalities, whatever you want to call it, and how this diversity has been accommodated or not in contemporary Ethiopia?
Okay, so Ethiopia is a diverse nation, or a diverse country, I can say, and we have a number of ethnic groups throughout Ethiopia. So they have their own language, their own culture, and their own religious and other beliefs. So the country is a museum of nations, nationalities, and peoples. So there are a number of ethnic groups. So the number of ethnic groups is more than 80 in number.
80.
80, yeah, more than 80 in number. So scholars, even Western scholars, such as Carlo Ponti-Rosni of Italy, coined the country as a museum of people. So in Italian, if I pronounce it correctly, he says Museum di Popoli. Ethiopia is the home of many nations, nationalities, and peoples. So it's a mosaic of people. So there is what we call heterogeneity, or we have a number of ethnic groups. So for the past 3 or 4,000 years, we were using, the unitary form of governmental structure. So the ethnic groups, the nations, nationalities, or peoples of Ethiopia were not represented in participation. They were not represented in governmental affairs, and there was no participation in political affairs as well as cultural affairs. So there was a long struggle for diversity, and different ethnic groups were asking for different questions, for the right of human rights, democratic rights, and for equality, as well as for distributive justice, and so on. But starting from 1991 in Gregorian calendar, there was a shift in government. So we shifted from the unitary form of government into federal structure. Actually, the period from 1991 up to 95 were transition period, which was known as charter period. So at that time, we established transitional government of Ethiopia, or TGE. So it was a benchmark for the evolution of Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia. So in 1995, the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia was proclaimed, and every nation, nationality, and people of Ethiopia was represented, and different political parties got a chance to be represented based on their ethnic background. So there were diverse participations during the establishment of the federation. So the federal system of structure was an important tool for accommodating the ethnic diversity. So every people were represented in the two parliaments. We have two parliaments, or two houses. The one is the House of People's Representative, and the other is House of Federation. So particularly in the House of Federation, all nations, nationalities, and peoples of Ethiopia were represented. And famous through in the House of People's Representative. So they got a chance to participate from the higher level of governmental structure, that is federal structure, then to the regional national states, then to the zonal states, and then to the districts, and then to the kabale, or to the local administrative structure. So it was like this, that every ethnic group, every linguistic group, every religion, including gender issues, were addressed in the constitution, even though there are problems in its implementation. So it has some sort of deficiencies in implementation, but everything is written in the constitution, so black and white. But nowadays, starting from 2016, 2015, 16, up to present time, there is a problem, on the nature of the federation, and some leaders of the EPRDF are against the federation, and they are trying to return to the old-fashioned way of administrating the country. So they are unable to accept the federal form of structure. So there is conflict, particularly ethnic animosities between different groups. So there is also what we call displacement of people from their village. So at least, I think at one time there were about 3 million displaced people. Internal displacement is becoming very common. So the way of accommodating differences is diminishing from time to time, particularly because of a change in the leadership.
Okay. To be more specific on how it is materialized, this ethnicity with the federal structure, if I'm not wrong, we have the Amhara state, we have the Oromo state, regional state, right? What do you call it? Regional states here. Oromia, Amhara, and then you have the Tigray regional state. We have Afar regional state. Ethiopian Somali regional state. Southern nations and nationalities. Regional state. And this is 6. Gambela. And then you have
also
Benchangul, that makes 8. And
we have the
Harari regional state.
Harari regional state.
That's 9.
9 regional states.
And
plus 2 city administrations.
2 city administrations.
Addis Ababa and Dreddawa.
Addis Ababa and Dreddawa. Okay. Both Addis Ababa and Dreddawa, let's say, that are like inside the Amhara regional state somehow, right?
No.
No?
They are not inside Amhara.
Yeah.
Addis is geographically bounded by Oromia.
It's an enclavement in Oromia. Yeah, you're right.
Oromia region.
Yes.
And Dreddawa is somewhere in the east.
Yes.
So it has also a number of ethnic groups. So a number of ethnic groups are there in Dreddawa.
Yes.
And also in Addis Ababa. So
okay.
We cannot consider them as ethnical regions.
Okay.
Rather, they are components of the many natures of Ethiopian people.
Okay.
So we can find a number of ethnic groups in Addis, for example.
Yes.
Tigrayans, people from southern nations and nationalities, from Gambela, from Amhara, Somali, from Arabic. So there are the ethnic groups are by one way or another going to Addis Ababa, and they reside there.
Yeah.
So we cannot single out a single ethnic group for Addis Ababa.
Okay.
Simply all nations, nationalities, and peoples are living there.
Yeah, I see.
And the same is true for trade-off.
Okay. Tell us a bit about the languages and writing diversity in Ethiopia. And if you have some words about the Ge'ez language as well.
All right. So, Ge'ez is one of the ancient languages of our world, and one of the Ethiopian civilization is marked by writing of so one of the Ethiopian civilization is marked by a writing system, and that writing system is referred to as Ethiopic writing system. So Ethiopic writing system was a writing system which was written by Ge'ez alphabet. So the Ge'ez alphabet is a unique alphabet of Ethiopians, and Ethiopia is one of the few countries in sub-Saharan Africa that has its own alphabet. So Ge'ez is a very important language, and it was serving as even a lingua franca of the Aksumite state. So it is a very important language. Different manuscripts are written in Ge'ez, and they deal with, for example, the ethnomedicine, they deal with agriculture, they deal with petrology, architecture, even philosophy, astronomy, and so on. So it touches all sciences. And there are also written books in books that tell about petrology or petroleum, the characteristics of rocks, that means, and so on. Therefore, every recordings are written in Ge'ez, and we can find it also, in addition to in manuscripts, we can find inscriptions which are written in Ge'ez. Here in Aksum and surrounding.
Could we say that somehow Ge'ez as a very ancient language that's kind of the cradle of other nowadays languages in Ethiopia is similar to the role of Latin in the West, or in Europe, in the sense that also it remains just alive as a liturgic for liturgic purposes, right? So people don't speak Ge'ez, but it's used in the religious environment, and the specialists read some books and philosophy and so on that it's written in Ge'ez, right? So somehow it's comparable to Latin.
Yeah, right. It's comparable to Latin in such a way that other languages of Ethiopia, particularly the Semitic language of Ethiopia, including Tigrinya, Amharic, and also the Guardinya, Harawi, and others are descended from Ge'ez. And there are some scholars who say that even Afan Oromo is related with Ge'ez. So at one time, all the people of Ethiopia, or the dominions of the Aksumite Empire, were using Ge'ez. So there are a number, most of the words, or the letters are actually Ge'ez letters for Tigrinya as well as for Amharic, and people in southern nations and nationalities are also using us, and minority groups in Tigray regional states, such as the Kunamas and the Saho, are using the Ge'ez alphabets, so that Ge'ez, as you said, is it has a position of like that of Latin, and most of the Ethiopian language emanates from Ge'ez or their sources. Ge'ez.
As far as I understand, you told me today you have like two main families of languages here. We have the Semitic group, which I think Southern Semitic, which to Amharic and Tigrinya belongs, and you have Cushitic languages like Oromo and other ones. Is that correct?
Okay, so concerning the family language of Ethiopia,
yes,
we have four major linguistic divisions. So the first one is the Cushitic language division. The second one is Semitic. The third one is the Omotic. Omotic speaking people, which are found in and around the Omo River Valley.
Okay.
And we have people of Nilotic speaking language. So these are the four major groups.
I see.
So otherwise, they have their own classifications also. For Semitic, for example, Northern Semitic, Southern Semitic, and Central Semitic, and so on.
Okay. And when it comes to contemporary language situation, as far as I understand it, there's like three major spoken languages, being Oromo or Afar Oromo, probably the biggest one in numbers of speakers, and then we have Amhara, and then we have Tigrinya. This will be more or less the ranking, right?
Yeah.
And after Tigrinya would be which language? Somali?
Maybe Sidama.
Sidama, from the southern
nations
and nationalities state.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Or it may take the third rank. We don't know, because I don't have recent,
Census.
recent figures.
Yes.
But it may be either third with Tigrinya.
Yes.
Or maybe it may also come into third, or it may be fourth.
Okay.
Because it has also a number of speakers.
Yes.
But we don't have recent data.
Okay.
Because the census took place 12 years ago. So in the meantime, their number may increase.
Yeah, makes sense.
And they may outnumber the Tigrians.
Okay.
So we are not sure whether the ranking, but for number one and number two, as you said, you're right.
Okay.
Oromo are
and
the biggest in number, and second, the Amhara.
Yeah. I understand that Amhara is the franca lingua and it's the official language of the country. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's the official working language
of the
country, of course.
Okay. Ethiopia is a peculiar country or nation in Africa because they defeated the colonizers, right? Which in this case were the Italians. When and how did that happen? I know that summarizing this is very complicated, but to give you just a general idea, when and how was this possible? Something that many other African countries never did or never were able to do.
Okay, thank you very much. So, as you said, Ethiopia was an independent country. It escaped colonialism. So there may be a number of reasons for this fact. So initially, we said earlier that Ethiopia was an independent state for a long period of time. So it was at once possessing a great civilization and a great technological advancement, and it compared itself with Persians, with the Romans, and with the Chinese. So it was a fourth great empire of the Zen world.
Yeah.
So starting from that, the Aksumites and later the Ethiopians were building a sort of military organization, and the people were participating in different wars. And by nature, the Aksumite empire was an expansionist state. So it was a great empire controlling both the eastern and the southern part of the Red Sea. So it has also overseas dominions in the present-day Southern Arabia, in the present-day Yemen, and even Saudi Arabia. So this tradition was continued for a long period of time. So even though there were internal conflicts, these internal conflicts also used to develop the fighting skill of individuals or groups, and then every warlord had also his own contingents. So there were fighting internally as well as externally to defend their territory. So they had a long tradition of defending themselves from foreigners, starting from ancient times. And then this history was transferred from generation to generation. The activities of the military training were transferred from generation to generation. So it was not for the first time that they defeated Italians, but there were other neighbors who tried time and again to surrender the Ethiopians. So, for example, if you take the case of Egyptians, they came successively during the period of Tedros, and then during the period of Johannes IV, the emperors of Ethiopia. So in 1875 and 76 in Gregorian calendar, the Egyptians were defeated twice at the Battle of Gundet and Pura.
All right.
So at that time, the known general was Alula Paneka. So he was a man from Tigray, particularly from Tambin area. So he was the first African general in history. So they defeated the Egyptians and also the Mahdists or Darvish from Sudan.
Okay.
So they were defending their country. And before the coming of Egyptians, they also fought against the Ottoman Turk, and they defeated for the Ottoman Turk at different battles. So then comes, in the final analysis, then comes the Battle of Adwa of 1896. So this was a continuation of other battles or other wars that it marked, all right, in the period of colonization. So the Battle of Adwa took place in 1896, as I told you. So Europeans in 1884, 1885 had a meeting or a conference in Berlin. So that conference was known as the Berlin West African Conference or the Berlin Conference, starting from 1884 to 85. So during this time, what the Europeans agreed was they should partition Africa in a peaceful way. They should create their own spheres of influence in Africa. So the making of a sphere of influence in Africa, or the establishment of a colony, can be carried out through different mechanisms. One is through imperialist trickery or through tricky treaties, and the other if they didn't materialize or realize their what we call their need using the imperialist trickeries or treaties, they should use also a force. So they can invade or raid an area so that they will claim it as if the country or the territory belongs to them. So the Italians were latecomers to the colonial expansion or to imperialism. This was because they were unified in the 1870s, as you know. They were unified almost 20 years or 25 years before Ethiopia. So as you know, they were unified by a person known as Mazzini. Mazzini was the builder of modern Italy. So beginning from that, they were thinking to get an overseas somewhere in Africa. So they got first Libya, and then they got also some part of Ethiopia, in the present day Eritrea, means in the lowlands of Eritrea. But none of these colonies, Libya and part of the present